Hello you guys, it's me KC and I'm back with another video, and I'm doing it on my Nintendo 3DS before we even get started. And don't say that I'm lazy, but for some reason this camcorder does not turn on when it's charging, and it was all out of battery, and I really wanted to get this video up. Don't want to wait all day because it takes forever to charge. So we're here to talk about the sellouts of the gaming industry, and what I mean by this is, like, you know, certain titles and certain genres are not what they used to be. An example of this would be Resident Evil, the Resident Evil series. Back then it was a horror game. Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, they were all scary games. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And then you got to Resident Evil 4, which everybody claims that it was the best Resident Evil game. And I believe, in my opinion, that that was the best Resident Evil game. But some other people would say that would be the downfall of the Resident Evil series. And the reason being is that it took a more action-oriented style. Like when Leon shot somebody in the leg, he could run up to them and do a melee. They had it whereas you can use a knife, and you can actually use it as a melee attack, even though it will take forever to kill the enemy. Just in case if you don't have any weapons, or they are really just too close and you really want to get them out of their way, you keep shanking them or whatever and keep trying to slice them. Another thing that was a little bit more action oriented is that they had the submachine guns on there. And now, mind you, back then I don't even really think that they had, all of this huge weaponry, whereas you can kind of use these guns and upgrade them and have a rocket launcher and have these mines, whereas you can plant it against a wall and it explodes. They never really had that in the Resident Evil series, so I can actually understand why people will actually say the Resident Evil series took a downturn after this route, after part 4. Now we get to Resident Evil 5, and it's something that we noticed that it's a lot different from the other genres of the Resident Evil series. One, you have a partner that is had, and I heard these people. Well, let me rephrase this. People have heard this time and time again. The crappy AI. Yes, say it with me. The crappy AI. I don't care if it's been restated long enough on YouTube. You're going to have to hear it from me. The crappy AI. You had Sheva, she's your partner. She's running around with you and she's trying to shoot down enemies. And not only that, it takes away from the suspense of the game itself. Being alone and, worrying about how much life you have and worrying about how much ammo you had made the game scary. And it was in a light environment majority of the time. The enemies were all in the daylight majority of the time. And you were like, this is not scary because you had an AI with you and you could actually team up with somebody and take down these enemies. Now, I played this game co-op. I have Resident Evil 5 right now. Where is it? Resident Evil 5. Ouch. And I just got hit in my head by that Metal Gear Solid HD collection, whatever, limited edition. Here it is right here, Resident Evil 5. And I know it's backwards because of this camera or whatever. But anyways, Resident Evil 5 series took a more action-oriented style. They had it where you could just run and gun. Well, you couldn't run and gun, but it was just mainly gunning down people. You get on this, big old thing or whatever. In wars, right? They had this huge machine gun. I don't know what it's called, but it's like in every war game. You just hop on and you just start gunning these enemies down. That's what they had on this game. And a lot of people were all like, oh man, they're not going back to their old roots. And a lot of people were worried about the Resident Evil series from that. So here you have a partner that takes away from the suspense. You don't have eerie sounds. You have zombies, mind you, zombies, these people that are infected trying to come at you. It wasn't as scary as part 4. At least in part 4 you were alone. You had the gritty environments and the music was eerie. It wasn't upbeat all the time and loud. And it was hard to find the typewriter as far as to, hurry up and save and all of that stuff. That's what made the game very scary. So Resident Evil as a whole, is a sellout. And even in an article, I can't remember what it was, the dude said that, oh, we got to compete with the Call of Duty series. Look at Operation Raccoon City, how well that was received. That's because they decided to go the Call of Duty route. They let SOCOM do all the work, and they messed up their game. So look at where you have it now. And Resident Evil Revelations, I'm not really going to get into that all the way, because I plan to do a review of that later, but it's still a little action oriented. You still have a partner. Although it was scary near the beginning, I didn't like when my partner was around with me, but I'll discuss that later. Another thing that I would like to state that is a sellout of its kind is the Final Fantasy series. I don't know what happened to it. And back then it was so good. Back then, Final Fantasy 4, Cecil trying to become a paladin. Titus, trying to, save the day. I remember all of that stuff. And even though I haven't played part 7, I played part 6. I played a lot of different Final Fantasy games, and now we getting all the way up to Final Fantasy 13, and all you gotta do is just press one button the whole time. What happened? These JRPGs are way too simplistic. I made a video about that, and the series just sold itself out. It's not really as good as it used to be. It's just really not all that good. When you have games like Fallout that's really trying to take the RPG in a different route, the JRPGs created this whole thing, so why don't they try to, step it up? Especially the Final Fantasy series. You decided to make a simplistic route instead of just doing turn-based or trying to do something that Xenoblade or The Last Story did. Those are two different playing styles. They're not one button press. They're, strategic methods in order to fight off enemies. So that's all I have to really say about the sellouts of the gaming industry. The two main sellouts, which is the Final Fantasy series and the Resident Evil series. The Resident Evil series mostly. Post up in the comments below of how you actually feel, or what other series that are complete sellouts this gaming generation. And with that said, Kid91 out. If you guys want to come to the KC site, www.kcsite.weebly.com, we have all gamers there. They'll be waiting for you. And I'll see you guys later. Peace. I'll post that up in the link description below. Sound off in the comments.